You found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. On today's episode, me and Pat are going to discuss Zach and DeMar's ranking in the ESPN's top 50 player list. Also, should the Bulls be waiting on Lonzo Ball? We're going to talk about an article from Andy Bailey discussing just that. And lastly, Alex Caruso gets votes for the best defender in the NBA. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls. That's Pat the Designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central. And today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50 plus infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. Pat, we're going to jump right into the topics for today, man. ESPN has been releasing everything but the top 10 as far as their player rankings coming into the 2023-24 season. Yeah. And, hey, they are pretty down on Zach and DeMar, both of them basically dropping 10 spots from where they were last season. We have DeMar coming in at 39th and Zach LaVine right above him at 38th. Zach LaVine last season ranked 27 and DeMar ranked 28th last season. How do you feel about these rankings?
Listen, everybody drops their rankings, right? I think Bleacher Report did this earlier in the offseason, and I say the same thing. Listen, you have to prove it to us, right? There was a lot of talk last season with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan on, we're going to figure this out. We're going to make this happen. I think the Lonzo Ball topic is a good one because Vuce talked about basically, we were waiting for this news that Lonzo was coming back. And then when it didn't happen, we never gelled the way that shouldn't have stopped you. Shouldn't have stopped you from being able to go out there and do your job the right way. So I get why they dropped in the rankings right now. Do I think that talent wise, they're the 38th and 39th best player in the NBA? I think they might be a little bit higher than that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're top 15 in the league right now. But I think that they're probably still in the 20s as far as talent wise goes. But when you're talking about guys who are going to put their teams in a spot to succeed. I even like how they broke this down. I'll give ESPN credit on this. They, a lot of times we see these articles and it'd be like, okay, why is there a rhyme or reason to why this guy failed this far? I forget who dropped. It wasn't Bleacher Report. Somebody else dropped the top 100. And it was like, you dropped this guy because he was injured, but you didn't drop this guy because he was injured. Like Kawhi Leonard was still top 10. But anyway, it said why he fell 11 spots. LaVine was not himself at the start of last season after undergoing knee surgery and did not play with the same offensive punch for most of the first half, but he picked it up after the All-Star break, averaging 27-5 and 4 down the stretch to get the Bulls into the play-in tournament. I can't argue with any of that. That's 100% facts. He was hurt. He did not play well. They added a couple of pieces. He started playing better after the All-Star break. 110% facts. I really thought they did a good job breaking some of this list down. Some of these are still questionable. Like, I get it, right? Like, unless you said Ja Morant shot somebody in the kneecap, like, there's no way he should be go from the 9th best player to 35. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's a wild drop. I mean, a player that's right above Zach in his ranking as well, Bradley Beal, went from 19th to 37th. How do you feel about that? Him and Zach being close to each other, I kind of understand that. But, like, do you think Bradley Beal's play basically needed him to drop almost 20 spots?
Well, I think this is about effect that you're going to have on the court, right? So
yeah,
his effect is dropped, right? Like, I'm not asking Bradley Beal to be the number one. I'm asking Bradley Beal to be the number 3 most nights. So, yeah, I think that I'm not going to lie to you. Personally, for me, I remember us questioning why the heck Bradley Beal was 10 spots ahead of Zach LaVine.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, yo, like, he should be closer to Zach. So I think it's still crazy to me there's a third option. They still have him above Zach LaVine, but I think that, Bradley Beal's production is going to drop off precipitously coming into this season.
Shout out to Pat with the 10-point word on that one. Shout out to you, my guy. ESPN doing you good over there, bro.
I'll be smart when we do this show at a regular time instead of like midnight.
No, but I mean, overall, like this is a better. I say it's better than last year as far as if you read the actual blurbs and the explanations, it's much better than what it was last season. Last season, players were all up and down.
Right.
Sometimes they talked about a player having an injury. Another time, it's a player who we saw 10 games the previous season that still gets ranked pretty high. It seemed like there was a more concise decision making as far as where players are going to sit on this list. Again, when it comes down to the Bulls, the doubt around the Chicago Bulls overall, I understand it. Like, do I agree with it all the times? No, but I do feel a lot of it is warranted with just the team's performance over the last year plus. So I understand it to a degree. I do think that if we do a ranking at the end of the season, I hope that DeMar and Zach aren't ranked this low, because if they have the seasons I think they can have coming in, they're gonna deserve to be ranked a little bit higher.
Here's what I want to get your thoughts on these, right? Because they have kind of question marks on some of the things that are here, right? Says one huge question for his season, talking about DeMar DeRozan here. DeRozan is entering the final season of his contract with the Bulls, although both he and the team have expressed interest in an extension. However, if the Bulls do not have more success this season after missing the playoffs in 2022-23, will DeRozan's tenure continue? So for me, more success is if the Bulls finish yet again in 40 and 42 range, 41 and 41, 42 and 40, right in that range. It's pretty much all the same record. Is DeMar part of this team?
And that is actually a question that I tackled over on Central yesterday, actually, is that I still think that DeMar can still be part of the team, and I do think that the Bulls still either way need to absolutely consider extending him, but it really comes down to what the price is at that point. Because if this team is another team that struggles to get to 40 wins, to me, you cannot give me any excuse to give him anything close to the max, unless it's the max for 2 years, and then he comes off the same time as Vooch. But I think that it really comes down to what the number per year ends up being for DeMar before I can complain. Because if you get DeMar on a reasonable contract to where he's getting like $22 million, which I actually think would be a pay cut for him, it's hard for me with the contracts that are being handed out now to be able to fight against that no matter what it is.
Yeah, it's one, bro. Listen, DeMar DeRozan, even if at the end of his career, will be making so much less than some of these months, bro. I started going through like percentages that people eat up of the cap, bro. You got people out here eating 32% of your cap, bro. 35%.
That can't go left,
bro. Listen.
That can't go. You know what? You can talk all day about DeMar operating primarily in the mid range, but you know what? DeMar can go left, right. It doesn't matter. He's gonna get to his spot.
I just think it's so funny to me because I really believe that the model that the Bulls are doing in the long run is going to be a better model for the team or for teams in the future. And I think it's a model that teams are going to take. I'm not saying that they're going to end up winning championships and all that from it, but like, bro, when you realistically look at it, if you have one player taking up 33% of your cap, you have to build the other 70% of your team
off. Exactly. And
my bad. You have to build the other 98% of your team off of 70% of a salary cap.
And then at that point, you have to make sure that everything fits together. Especially if you're also trying to avoid the second tax apron. If you're a team that doesn't care, they're just going to spend money, they're probably going to be good regardless. Unless you are winning titles, hey, it's going to be so interesting to see how
I don't even think teams that are winning titles are going to want to be in the second apron, bro. Like the second apron sounds cute now because nobody's getting hit by it. We're willing to attack it. Hey, let that first owner get hit by that second apron. They gonna put the call. Hey, y'all heard about this apron, bro? I'm broke. I'm broke, dog.
The only way that I can see, like, if you're like 2 titles in, and in that third year going for a three-peat, it's like, hey, we finna hit that second apron. I can see owner then being like, all right, bet, don't worry about it. Let's get this third title. We'll worry about it after that.
Listen, we may never see. I need y'all to understand how serious the second apron is, right? We may never see dynasties like we've seen them again.
Well,
because of how much it's going to cost to keep them together.
There's an interesting graphic. So there was a graphic that went by, and I wish I would have saved it, of teams that would have been in the second apron according to, like, of course, not the exact number because percentages are different of the cap, but like had the second apron been a thing for that year, and it was really like 3 teams. So teams like the second apron isn't as serious as what, like, it's not, you have to do tons of work to hit that second apron. Now, with that said, when you get contracts that are going upwards of $60 million per year,
it's a lot
that
less
makes
work.
it a little,
you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like, the second apron isn't a I paid you $600 million over 6 years type of thing. It's like, you make 60 this year, he makes 60 this year. And the thing is, if you have a team that's going to be right, like, let's say Phoenix keeps winning, right? That team's young enough to keep winning for a while, right? You're going to have 3 dudes. You already have 3 dudes that make a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah. We'll see, man. That's going to be one of the more interesting things to watch, man. I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point in the future. But next up, we're going to be discussing Andy Bailey's article asking if the Chicago Bulls should even be waiting on Lonzo Ball to return, or if they should go ahead and look to move his contract by any means necessary, is basically what the article laid out. We'll talk about that next. Before we get into that, I got to talk to you guys about one of our sponsors, and that is Jase Medical. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jase Medical offers the Jase Case. The Jase Case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you a peace of mind so that you aren't just hoping that you have access to emergency medication, but you have access. You have it in hand. I don't know why that tripped me up so bad.
You've been struggling, bro. These reads been kicking your butt.
Hey, bro, kicking my butt lately. They handle everything from online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication, delivery, and ongoing consultation and care, so you don't get caught unprepared. Get $20 off these life-saving antibiotics today from Jase Medical by using the code LOCKEDON at checkout at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. All right, Pat. So Andy Bailey had an article, and basically the thesis of the article was basically asking, should the Chicago Bulls even be waiting on Lonzo Ball to return? And he presents an interesting case. Not saying I agree, but I do understand a lot of the facts that he presented, saying that, hey, Lonzo Ball has 1 year left on his contract by the time he comes back, right? He has an option for 2023-24. And even then, you're betting on him being able to come back and at least get right back to at least 75 to 80% of himself. That's highly unlikely for a player that will be missing out at that point 2.5 years of playing basketball and, a $21 million contract. And basically you just said that it seems like the Bulls are really content on waiting and allowing Lonzo Ball to try to make a comeback with the Bulls. But you have to ask yourself, is that financially the best decision for the Bulls? What do you think, Pat?
No. There's no part of it that's the best decision. It's not, right? But it's also, I understand who my GM is and who my president of basketball operations is, big right? Fan. Like, I watched him do it. I watched him wait on a guy to come back for 2.5 years. They won a championship. Like, you're not gonna. Here's the one thing, the part that always sticks out for me, right? When Mike D'Antoni came back to the NBA, he said what made him want to come back was he saw somebody else win with his model. Mm-hmm. AK saw somebody else win with his model. In fact, they saw somebody else win with all the pieces that he put in place to be there. So why wouldn't I think that AK is going to wait out Lonzo Ball? Like, do I think that it's the smart decision? No. Like, I think that you should have taken the logical money decision. Take the player, the career-ending exception. You get out from under the money. Yes, you pay Lonzo out. Yes, blah blah blah. All of the things that go with it. But you get an opportunity to open up that roster spot. You can bring somebody in. You can do things this offseason. You end up finding a couple of point guards. Maybe you keep another young player around, right? Maybe instead of sending Unerlop down for a certain amount of games, you keep him on the roster full time and sign him to a full contract. All of that stuff that comes into play with all of that, right? Like that's kind of the logical thing that the Bulls should have done.
Now, you go to the Jamal Murray comparison a lot, and I want to point out some differences in it because I think we've never really talked about it. Jamal Murray never missed as much time as Lonzo Ball. The only time Jamal Murray missed a full season was 2021-22 season. Yeah. Other than that, he was still able to get you almost 50 games even when he was playing, and he was under contract, already locked into a multi-year contract at that time. So there is a little bit of difference in it. I do see what you're saying, though, in that you waited for him to get healthy, even with ACL injuries, and that injury is a lot different as well. But so when you look at the differences between that, though, does that change your opinion on it at all? Because there are differences in the situations.
If I'm not mistaken, right, didn't he miss the beginning of the 2020 season due to injury that happened at the end of the 2019 season, and then he missed out the end of the 21 season, second half, and then the full 22 season, right? So you lost a lot of time with him. You basically lost 2 years of this guy's career. I mean, years,
but there was hope
right,
for a comeback. They didn't know he was going to tear his ACL again.
ACL is a very different injury, right? But I think the thing is, right, if you have a player that tears his ACL 2 times, you move on from that player more times than not, right? Like you usually it's like, okay, the second ACL tear is like, all right, bro, like I can't count on you to be here because your knees are having issues, blah, blah, blah. And guess what? Listen, Jamal Murray still missed time last season. He still was kind of, I think he played 65 games last season. He still was in and out of the lineup at times early on in the season as well. So, like, there's still that, like, oh, this guy is not there all the time. But, like, when he was there, he was elite. So I think that's kind of the reason, and you can't offensively compare him, but I think the thing is, right, like, when you have that player that has an injury like that, or an injury that keeps him out a long time, and then you kind of have to do the management thing where he's sitting and staying. A lot of times GMs want to go away from that guy. AK and the Denver Nuggets, right? AK ended up leaving, but the Denver Nuggets have shown a very loyal streak in them where, yes, you have an injury, get through the injury, we'll see you back here. I mean, to the point where Justin Lewis, most teams would have cut Justin Lewis.
Yeah, because there's no risk in cutting him.
There's no risk in cutting him, right? You brought him in, he tore his ACL in training camp, or before training camp. No, training camp, right? He tore his ACL in training camp.
Technically, we did cut him, though.
We did, but it was like a cut and then keep around, right? Yeah. Like you know what I mean? It was like, hey, we Javonte Greened him. You know what I mean? By the way, is Javonte on the bench? I haven't looked. Has anybody seen Javonte?
He's legally not allowed to be on the bench unless he's under contract.
They just bought him.
He's probably in a box right behind. He's probably in a box.
They bought him a ticket right behind the bench. He's sitting in the seats that we had, bro. Like, he's right there, bro. But no, I look at both of those situations. I see the loyalty that AK has when guys deal with injury. It's probably because AK was a player. Like there is that loyal side when you have, players being the GMs and presidents of teams. But for me, I think both of us would agree that logically it makes more sense to move on from them. Financially, it makes more sense to move on from them. But that's not what the Bulls are going to do.
Yeah, I think I look at it like this, and this is how I framed it when I talked about it over in Central, is that unless there's a deal and a team in place that the team is saying, hey, we got a star, we need to move, we're willing to take on a dead contract because we really don't care. And that's kind of what they said in the article, right? A team that's more concerned about ping pong balls than wins. If that happens, right, and it's a player that drastically ups the ceiling of your team. For example, I know it didn't match, the contracts don't match, but I'm just saying, theoretically, if let's say Drew Holiday's contract matched Lonzo's just 1-for-1, and the Portland Trail Blazers were basically saying, hey, you send us Lonzo's contract because we don't care. You send us a future first-round pick. We're willing to say it's top 3 protected just in case you guys absolutely suck. At that point in time, I'm saying you'd be stupid not to do that deal.
100%. But see, I think that's even the thing, right? Like, and I don't know whether they did or not, but did you guys make that call on Drew? The
Drew thing, that wasn't a good, because it would have taken Lonzo and Caruso,
would have taken more,
example.
right? It would have taken more, but I think that is the call that those are the calls that you talk about, right? Somebody who's 20 million, like, are you making those calls? Because listen, there's plenty of teams in the NBA right now who definitely just want to move on and get the money out of the way.
Yeah.
There's plenty of teams that I don't believe that AK can't move this contract.
Yeah, it's just in the right situation and scenario. I think if AK wanted to just move Lonzo Ball's contract, he could have got it done. Now, it may have taken future draft capital and things like that. And at that point, you got to start weighing the risk versus reward. But I think that's something like, if he just wanted to move it just to move it to get it off, it would have been done already.
Yeah. And so I think that tells you, kind of where he feels he's at right now. Like, I mean, if we just wanted bodies, we probably could have traded it to the Pistons.
This is true too.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a bunch of bodies that you can just throw out there, right? Like, could have traded it to the Spurs because they were trying to get ping pong balls out of it. Could have probably traded to the Rockets and got a young player or something like that back. Like, there's bodies that you can send out if you just want somebody that's going to be on the floor. But I think the Bulls really are content waiting on Lonzo to come back and waiting to see if he is going to have that Jamal Murray bounce back. I don't know if he is, right? Like, I think Lonzo here's the thing. Lonzo has more of a chance to bounce back if he can get himself back to the point where he's running at an NBA level, because his IQ is not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is too, though, is that it's easy to say that though, but like even when you look at Lonzo's probably elite ability is defense, right? But you need to be able to cut, you need to be able to move laterally, you need to be able to do a lot of that, and that's a lot of load on the knees to be able to do that. So while the mental part of Lonzo's game is never going to go away, almost everything Lonzo does that makes him Lonzo, you do need a strong knee to do it. So I mean.
Well, for him, hopefully, it's somebody else's strong knee. You know what I mean?
It's going to be somebody else's knee regardless. He has somebody dead cartilage in his knee. That's
crazy,
hopefully
it's strong, bro. I said hopefully it's strong, bro. You got to watch out for
knees out here, bro.
Go Jamaican knees, bro. I'm telling you right now, bro. Like, I said that, bro. I said that on the breeze, bro. I said, you think the doctor was like, "Hey, you want anything else off this?"
No,
before
bro. That
we
was
close
here.
it up, bro?
Was
that here? Did I say that here?
We talked about designer knee cartilage.
Bro, you want anything else off of him, bro? We can give you the cap. We can give you, he got good ankles as well. You need ankles. You need ankles while we got them open. You know what I mean? Like, what else do you need, bro? How's your wrist? We know you've had some back issues. You need a spine,
bro. It's not, do the damn ad read, bro.
Hey, yo, slap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook right now. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get into the action. The app's so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and kick off the NFL and NBA season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
All right, last topic of the day, Pat. Something that shouldn't be a big surprise to anybody who actually watches it. But while the Bulls didn't get a lot of votes for anything in the GM survey, last year we even had Chris Fleming get voted as one of the best assistants that could become a head coach, not even appearing on that list this year. But we did get Alex Caruso getting votes for the best defender in the NBA, and then he also got votes for the best perimeter defender in the NBA, which, I mean, that goes kind of hand in hand. But he got 10% of the vote for the best perimeter, and then he got 5% of the vote for best overall defender in the NBA. How you feeling?
I mean, listen, it's like I said before, he's probably the best guard defender in the league.
You put him above Drew?
Yes.
Okay.
Because Drew Holiday got 109 points put on his head top.
Bro, you kill me saying people can't because of one game. Like
yeah, that was 2 games.
I mean,
that was 2 games.
But yeah, but still, that doesn't stop him from being a great defender, bro.
I didn't
like
say
every defender's got to cook.
I ain't say he wasn't a great defender, but Jimmy Butler ain't dropping on him. Hey, we played Jimmy. What Jimmy do that game? Jimmy didn't cook that game, did he? What did he do
no, he didn't do
that
much.
Playing game.
I think it was 13 points. Oh, you're talking about the playing game. I thought you were talking about the game we went to.
No, he definitely didn't do nothing that game.
Yeah.
He was getting clamped that game. I don't even know if AC was playing that game though. But no, it's realistically speaking, I would put him above Drew because I've watched him switch on to Giannis, and I was like, well, this is about to be a cook show. And then Giannis didn't do what I thought he was going to do. You know what I mean? Like he had a regular game. I've watched him be the guy who can be the point of attack defender. I've watched him be the guy that can be the roll defender on the pick and roll. I've watched him be one of the most versatile defenders in the NBA. A Jimmy Butler-esque defender.
Yeah.
If we're being 100% honest. So it doesn't surprise me that Caruso's on this list in the slightest. I think that he is probably a top 10 defender in the NBA as a whole.
So as far as the best defenders in the NBA, the Giannis got best defender in the NBA. He got 40% of the vote.
Yeah.
Drew Holiday was next with him. Draymond Green still getting 10% of the vote.
I like that.
Marcus Smart, Jaren Jackson, Kawhi Leonard, all above Alex Caruso as far as best defenders in the NBA, but he's still ranked in the top 10.
Jaren Jackson is tough for me because Jaren Jackson is a good defender, but Jaren Jackson a hack. Alex Caruso can get the job done without averaging 4+ fouls a game.
Did Jaren Jackson Jr. average 4 fouls per game?
I think if I'm not mistaken, I think maybe that was Team USA. And Team USA, he definitely did. But I think last season Jaren Jackson averaged like 3.8 fouls a game.
That is a lot of fouls.
And if I'm not mistaken, Jaren Jackson for a career only plays 27 minutes a game because of how much he fouls.
And he averages 3.7.
3.7 for his career. He averaged 3.6 last year. Second year, he averaged 4.1. That was the year he did that.
That's crazy. That is a lot of fouls. Bro.
That's a lot of fouls for you. Now, I get it, right? What is he? 2.5, 3 blocks a game? He was 3 blocks a game last season, right? Yeah. Elite defender. But he's 3 blocks a game and 4 smacks to the face a game. So can I really put him above AC? And
yes,
I can't. Yeah, I can't.
I was about to say.
Hey, look. Hey, he 3 blocks a game and 1 steal a game. That's
That's elite. That's elite.
He's an elite defender, bro.
He's an elite defender.
In 28 minutes, bro. Like here's the thing. He fouls out so quickly. But he's so efficient when he's on the floor.
Who leads the league in foul outs per? By the way, shout out to Dylan Brooks for getting ejected 9 minutes into a preseason game. Which they was
wilding on that one. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah,
I agree.
they were.
I agree
that was
with
his reputation catching up with him.
Yeah, I agree with his Dylan the villain. You dig on that one. That was wild that they threw him out in that game. Jaren Jackson got to be number 1, bro. He fouls out a lot.
I don't know. I'm not finna look it up either. I'm just gonna take your word for it. That wasn't one of those things where I'm like, I'm finna look it up. I don't care.
Bro, it's a lot of 5s on this list, bro. It's a lot of 5s crazy. And a lot. Actually, let's see.
No, I see a lot of 5s, only 2 6s.
I see 3 6s. But the problem with Jaren is, right, he get remember he played the Bulls. He had 4 in the first half.
Yeah.
And they was just like, we'll see you in the 4th. Like, what you want us to do? You know what I mean?
But yeah, man, shout out to AC for getting those votes, man. Pat, you got anything left before we get up out of here, brother?
Just the fact that you can absolutely tell the games where Jaren Jackson get all the fouls early. It's like 29 minutes, 30 minutes, 21 minutes. God dang, brother.
Yeah. Like when you have to sit somebody whole quarters because they in foul trouble early in the game. Hey, listen, that's tough, bro.
He's got like 3 games a month. He had 21 minutes a game.
Bro, he had 4 months of the season where he averaged 4 fouls per game. Bro, that's crazy, bro.
Bro, I'm telling y'all, bro. I'm not making this up.
That's wild.
This man be beating the heck out of people, bro. He's a hack, bro. It's impressive what he can do in the limited time that he gets on the court, but his time is limited because of him.
That's one thing I always appreciate about Joe, right? Just to before we leave, Joakim Noah guarded. He switched on guards, forwards, and centers his whole career. And I probably only can remember about a handful of games where Joakim Noah was in foul trouble early.
Yeah. I mean, Joe's, you know what? You want to know why? Because he got ejected from all of them.
If Joe didn't start having ejection problems to like his last 2-3 years.
If Joe got 3 fouls in the first half, he wasn't playing the second. That third foul, he was on the ref's hand tops, bro.
That's funny. That's hilarious, man. Let's go on and get up.
Let's get up out of here, bro. Follow us on everything at Locked On Boys. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Appreciate y'all for showing love.
You can follow me at CEO Haize, at CEO Haize. Want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls. Make sure you guys leave those 5-star reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. It definitely helps the podcast grow. Before Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. This has been Locked On Bulls, man. We out here. Peace, y'all.
Peace.